Hi everyone, what if your EC2 instances could scale out and scale in automatically just by watching an SQS queue? In this video, we'll use an auto-scaling group with target tracking policy to horizontally scale EC2 instances based on the SQS queue depth metric. Let's start by understanding this architecture diagram. On the bottom left, we have an Amazon SQS standard queue. I will manually add messages to this queue using the SQS console. As the messages are added, SQS automatically publishes queue depth metrics such as approximate number of messages visible to the Amazon CloudWatch. In the bottom right, we have CloudWatch service. CloudWatch stores and provide this metric called approximate number of messages visible. We don't configure any alarm manually here. On the top, we can see we have auto-scaling group with EC2 instances. The auto-scaling group ASG has a target tracking policy defined explicitly using JSON. The policy monitors the SQS metric, approximate number of messages visible, and has a target of X messages per instances. Based on the current number of messages in queue and our target value, the auto-scaling group decides whether to scale out or scale in. If the queue has more messages than the target allows per instance, new EC2 instances are added. If the queue depth decreases, extra EC2 instances are automatically terminated. In this demo, EC2 instances are normal instances. They are not polling or processing messages from SQS. We are only demonstrating how SQS metrics drive horizontal scaling. Now that we understand the architecture and scaling logic, let's move to the AWS console and see this in action. Now that we are in the AWS console, let's open SQS. Let's click Create Queue. For type, let's select standard. Let's give this queue a name. Scroll to the bottom and let's click Create Queue. You can see the message queue demo scaling queue created successfully. Now let's move back to our AWS console and open EC2. In this EC2 console, first we will create a template and use that template in auto-scaling group. So from the left hand side under instances, let's click launch templates. Click create launch template. Let's give this template a name. Scroll down under application and OS images. Let's click quick start tab. Let's select Amazon Linux for it. Scrolling down, for the instance type, let's select t2.micro. On the right hand side, we can see we have create launch template button. So let's click create launch template. You can see we have successfully created our template called demo template. Now let's move back to our EC2. Under EC2 on the left hand side menu, scroll down and click auto scaling group under auto scaling. Let's click create auto scaling group. Let's give this ASG a name. Under launch template drop down, let's select our template called demo template. Now let's click next. Under VPC, we have a default VPC which is okay. For availability zone and subnet, let's click the drop down and select one of the subnet. Now let's click next. For this demo, we won't be using load balancer, so select no load balancer. Scroll down and again click next. For our desired capacity, we want to set it to 1. Under scaling, let's increase the max desired capacity to 3 so that ASG can create a maximum of 3 EC2 instances. For scaling, let's select target tracking scaling policy. For metric type, let's select custom CloudWatch metric. Let's delete this default custom metric JSON and add a new JSON. You can see we have added a new custom metric JSON. Now let's look what this JSON does. Under dimension, we can see we have a name of queue name and value of demo scaling queue. Here we are specifying which queue we care about. So in our case, that would be demo scaling queue. Under metric name, we can see we are specifying a metric called approximate number of messages visible. This shows the queue depth and how many messages are waiting to be processed. This is the load indicator, meaning more message equals more work equals need more EC2. With this line namespace AWS/SQS, we are telling autoscaling to look inside the SQS service metrics in CloudWatch. For statistics, we are using a value of average. Now let's scroll down. For the target value, let's set it to 1, which means each instance should handle approximately one message. For this demo, I am setting the target value to 1 per instance so that scaling happens quickly and easy to observe. In a real production setup, you would choose a higher target value based on how many messages a single instance can realistically handle. For instance warm-up, let's give it a value of 60. This is the grace period before new instance count as active. Scroll down and now let's click next. We won't be adding any notifications, so let's click next. For tags, we won't be adding any tags, so again click next. Under this review screen, scroll to the bottom and click create autoscaling group. You can see we are creating autoscaling group called ASG demo SQS, which has the status of updating capacity. So let's wait. Now you can see under ASG demo SQS we have one instance being created by default as we had a desired capacity of 1. We have a minimum of 1 and maximum of 3. Now let's click ASG demo SQS. Let's select this activity tab and scroll down. Under activity history, we can see we have successfully launched one EC2 instance. Now let's go back to our queue and add multiple messages and see if our auto scaling group automatically scales. In this Amazon SQS queue called demo scaling queue, let's click send and receive messages. Let's enter a message called M1 and click send message. Let's select multiple message, so let's create a message body with M2 and click send message. Let's repeat the same process to send multiple messages. We have successfully sent 4 messages to our queue. So let's open our CloudWatch. In the CloudWatch under metrics, let's click all metrics. In this search bar, let's select our metric. Let's press enter. You can see we have this SQS queue metrics. So let's click it. You can see we have a queue named demo scaling queue and approximate number of messages visible. So let's select this queue name with the specific metric and let's wait till the count here on the top graph gets increased. Don't worry if scaling doesn't happen instantly. Metrics need time to show up in CloudWatch and auto scaling reacts after it has enough data. So let's wait till the scaling happens. You can see now the count for our metric is increasing to 1.8. Now let's move back to our auto scaling group console and under activity history, let's wait and see if this triggers auto scaling to add new instances. Here you can see ASG has automatically added 2 new EC2 instances by reacting to the number of messages in SQS queue. Both of them has a status of not yet in service, so let's wait till both of these EC2 instances get fully ready. Now you can see that the new instances created by ASG has a status of successful. So let's move back to our EC2 console and under instances, let's click instances. you can see we have 3 instances where 2 of the instances were added automatically. So it shows the automatic scaling out of EC2 instances by ASG based on the number of messages in our SQS queue. Now let's see if scale in occurs when we have no messages in our message queue. So let's move to the SQS console. Let's select demo scaling queue. Once we are in the queue called demo scaling queue, let's click purge. Let's confirm this by typing purge. What this action does is that it deletes all of our 4 messages. So let's click purge. Let's go back to our matrix and wait till our count drops from 4 to 0 and see if it triggers scaling operation. Finally, you can see that our count for our metric has reached 0. So let's move back to our ASG and under activity history, let's see if it triggers scaling of our EC2 instances. Finally, we can see that we are terminating EC2 instances as a process of scaling as we have deleted all of our messages in SQS queue by clicking purge previously. So let's refresh this activity history. You see one of the EC2 instance has been terminated successfully, whereas other EC2 instance is in a process of termination. So let's wait till the second EC2 instance gets terminated. Let's click refresh. You can see both of the EC2 instances has been deleted as a part of scaling operation. Let's move back to our instances tab and let's click refresh. Here we can see we have 2 EC2 instances in a instance state of terminated. Now let's move to the auto scaling group console. You may notice that scaling in or scaling out can take several minutes. This is expected as auto scaling waits for metrics to stabilize before making changes. That's it for this demo. To avoid unnecessary charges, let's delete our auto scaling group. In this console, scroll to the top and select auto scaling groups. Let's select this ASG demo SQS. Under actions, let's click delete. Let's confirm this deletion. Click delete. Let's go back to our instances tab and refresh. You can see our last instance is in an instance state of shutting down. So that's how you can scale EC2 instances automatically using SQS metrics and a target tracking policy in an auto scaling group. If you found this useful, consider liking the video and subscribing for more hands-on AWS demos. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next AWS demo.